Having a client is one thing, but ethics and sovereignty and integrity is very important as a healer, and it is our responsibility to make sure that a client feels safe, held, and seen. Today, I'm going to be going over the main ethics and integrity rules that I think is important for every healer, no matter what modality that you hold, to ensure that it is a trauma-informed space. The first and foremost part is client consent. What client consent looks like is on three levels. First is consent of the type of healing they're doing, consent of understanding their boundaries, and consent of also understanding around integration. The first part is consent of the healing. What type of healing are you offering? It's very important to ensure that the type of healing, that every single step the client understands the process of it. So for example, when I am supporting a plant medicine retreat, the consent that I offer here is knowing the flow of the whole healing, knowing the ground rules and intentions in the space to make sure it's a safe space for every person individually and also as a group and a whole. It's also making sure and confirming that every single participant in this group healing understands what is required to ensure their safety and also the safety of others, and having a full body yes to that. And if there are any questions, making sure the healer, the space holder, the facilitator can answer them thoroughly. The second part is consent around the actual integration. Now, one of the things I always do during my healings, especially retreats, is we have an integration circle. In this process, this is where you get to share what's on your heart. I always let clients know and participants know that it is not needed. You don't have to share if you're still in the process with the medicine, if you're still in the process after the breath work, whatever the modality is. It's very, very important for you to be aware that that person isn't forced to share. Sometimes a great thing to do as a healer and a space holder is offering them space to share outside of the group. This has happened a couple times where someone is processing and maybe they have nerves around speaking about their experience, or they would rather speak to you one-on-one. I create a designated time during the retreat to allow them to speak to me and to connect and just kind of have like a connection call and the connection chat, should I say, for them to really integrate as well. So this is very important to ensure that the person has the choice of their voice. And one of my favorite things to see is the transformation I have just having these simple consent and ethical practices. I've had people who've come to retreats and they never go to sharing circles, or they don't want to share, and by the halfway point they understand that that's their process as well, and understanding when they're ready to invite that conversation. It's really beautiful to see them then speaking with the group and feeling that inclusion. And sometimes we have a whole retreat where the person isn't involved in it, and that is completely fine. Again, remember, your job as a healer, facilitator, and space holder is to create safe space for that person. The last part is consent around boundaries. I'm going to make a little bit of a deeper discussion on this, but I really want to talk about this because boundaries is key. There are the boundaries of you as a space holder, and there are the boundaries of the participant. The boundaries of the space holder is what are you willing to hold space for? Some of the things I learned very early on holding retreats and space holding is I was always accessible to my clients, and then I would find myself at the end or at a night or evening healing very tired, very depleted, or when I sleep I'm just like, oof. And after the whole retreat, it would take me a week or sometimes 2 weeks to integrate and to really come down from the experience and integrate my process as well. Because as facilitators, as healers, as space holders, you are also going through healing. You are also going through a process. So one of the things I always do is make sure I schedule throughout the day of my retreats, the healings, or even if I'm doing one-on-one sessions where I give myself a nourishing touch base. And that might look like grounding myself with food, making sure I have nourishing food that can really help my channel, my body feel loved, nurtured, and completely held. This may also look like meditating. I might go into nature, I might ground with bare feet onto the earth during a retreat and allow myself to just connect, or sit in the hammock and just be with myself. Another part of being a boundaries for, healers and space holders, and the ethics around that, is ensuring that you have your space and communicating that with your people, with your participants. So one of the things I always share with them is if there is a time that you want to talk to me, if say they don't want to integrate with a group, just let me know, and we can find a time that works best for both of us to connect. So I'm letting them know that I definitely want that to be a priority, but I'm also not abandoning myself so I can hold space authentically and really in a grounded place, because again, you can't hold space if you're not grounded. There's no way, as a space holder, as a healer, there's absolutely no way that you can hold space if you are grounded. And this brings me to the next part about the ethics and the support for healers and working with clients. And that is, boundaries are clearly communicated. The boundaries that you have as a healer is a reflection of what you allow in and out. If you find yourself depleted, and this is something that I'm going to share a story. I used to do a lot of card readings when I first started, tarot card readings and oracle card readings, and I found myself really depleted. And there were a few things that were a factor. The first thing was I didn't know much about protection and closing and opening my field. I also noticed that I found a lot of clients messaging me after, sharing the things that would happen or not happen with questions. And I would find myself on my phone during dinner with my loved ones, trying to answer this person because I felt like I had to. So you can see just from this example, I was constantly allowing all the energies in. I was choosing to be accessible at all times. And the thing is as a healer, and to have that strong pillar, you have to make sure that you're choosing yourself as well. You're choosing yourself, your energy. If your physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic field is not balanced and taken care of, you're gonna feel you're showing up, either super late during a session, or you feel like you're rushed, or you feel like you should have had more time. It's because you're not taking those grounding moments. So a lot of the things you don't see when I'm posting here is I spend multiple times every single day grounding. Right? I'm like in nature, I'm meditating, I'm connecting with plant allies, like I'm doing all these things that are equally as important and even more important for me to ensure that I hold my clients fully. The next one is very important. Some of you may be a little bit, triggered by this, but this is very important, especially in this day where messaging, whether you share your offerings through promoting on social media and content and whatnot, is making sure that you do not give your clients any promises of results. The thing is, every single person on this earth wants promises of results. If you get into this, then you will get X, Y, Z. And even though you can share that, one of the things I do with all of, whether it's my programs, my mentorships, my retreats, I let them know this is the intention of this retreat. However, I also put the responsibility on their lap and say, hey, if you don't show up, if you don't integrate, if you don't do the work, then it's not going to support you in the way that your prayers and intentions are here. So I make sure that they don't look at me as a guru. They don't look at me as someone that has all the answers, because I do support them as a space holder and as a leader of the space. That's my job. But I never want a client or a space holder to think that I am the reason why they're powerful, and then that creates a dependent relationship with your clients. I've had people I've had to fire because I've noticed that they were opening into that dependent space, and I had a conversation with them and I said, hey, look, you've done this healing, and there's either two things that happen. One, they're not doing the homework, they're not doing the intentions, and it's my job as a space holder to be sovereign in my work and say, hey, we've been going over this for 4 months. At this point, you should be at least practicing one of the things. And if you're not doing that, then it's like, what are your priorities? Why are you in this space? And this allows the ethics to go back to their lap, and for them to make that responsible decision that the power of being in this space is for you to step into the power of these tools. If you don't do that, then it's not going to work. And it's our job as a space holder, as healers, as facilitators, to do that. Time and time again, healers and space holders giving away their power and also manipulating power energetically in a space where someone's coming to someone. For example, if you have a client that's in the space of fawning. So fawning is people who've experienced trauma, such as, they had to grow up to do something to receive respect, power, approval, or something, right? So it tends to be that little gray area of people pleasing. And a lot of the times they go to a facilitator, a space holder, or healer, and they're looking at them for approval. Some examples could be like, what do you think about that vision? What would you say? What would, all those things. And I remember there were times where I would be in those situations and not know what to do. And then after years of doing this work, I've learned that I always throw it back at them. What do you feel that dream means? What do you feel this session means to you? Because what I'm doing is then I'm projecting a perspective based on me, but I'm not them. Part of the ethics as a space holder is making sure that you're not creating illusions or projected knowledge. Now, it's one thing if you say, hey, I have something that I want to share with you. Do you have permission to do so? And here's what's coming up. Does that resonate with you? But if I'm saying, well, you had this dream and this means blah, 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 then what's going to happen is that person might have a perspective of something, and I've now just told them that that intuition was completely wrong. So part of the ethics is making sure that we're really allowing people to see and step into their own power and know that the work is in their hands. If you don't show up also when the session is done, when the retreat is done, and you're noticing that your clients are not doing that work, then you have to have that conversation. You need to be the medicine for your clients to bring the ethics back to them. And that's your ethical responsibility to do that, to hold them accountable. That's what they're essentially hiring you for, is to hold accountability and to be a leader and medicine for them, so then they can step into their own medicine. The last and final part that I'm going to wrap everything up is integrity and sovereignty. Integrity essentially means is staying true to self with your beliefs and values, to remove completely the title of space holder, healer, and facilitator, and let's talk just human to soul to being, right? Beyond what the title of this video is. We all have values. We all have things that we respect with ourselves. And I like to go back to this perfect saying, respect those the way you want to be respected. And what that means is the integrity is whenever I have a client that is coming to me with a situation, an element, a disease that they want to heal, whatever it is, I always notice that I have the perspective of, if I were in their shoes, how would I feel? I try my best to meet them where they're at, but not take away my power of where I'm at as a space holder as well. So an example could be that someone can be sharing with me that they have really painful period cramps and they've struggled with PCOS. As someone who's struggled with endometriosis, I'm feeling that same pain. I understand where I'm here to help them and support them in this process and to lead them to believe that their body and their womb can heal. As I'm speaking to them, I'm connecting to that pain, but I'm also understanding the other side of it. So you are the threshold of two portals. You are the healer and space holder that is meant to meet them at where they're at. We're not here to take in and sponge all the healing that they have and take it away and just continuously clearing, extracting energy. And then we're depleted, right? Because you didn't stay to your values and sovereignty, that you're not here to hold on everyone's pain. You're not here to take the burdens of others. And you have to look at that for your shadow work as a healer, right? That's the ethics, is when we do notice that we're ungrounded in sessions, we have to see what was ungrounded. Did I take on someone's energy? Is this someone else's? Why did I choose to take on this energy? How can I approach this? What is the lesson that's here? This is how we deepen our process as healers. And again, the difference between a healer that is a leader and a healer that is following the client is a healer that follows the client is going to be a sponge. The healer that leads a client is going to be the medicine for them and understand and give them full responsibility to move through it. If I'm doing a somatic healing, I'm seeing the person releasing, I don't need to go put my hands and do light language, all those things. I don't need to do that. They're already there. That's what I want them to be. I want them to get to the point where I'm cheering you on. I'm like, you're doing it. And that's the power of being a space holder, facilitator, and healer. Your job is simply to hold and anchor and be an altar for them, be a space holder and guide them, lead them into their own healing, for them to move through that trance with themselves and to listen to them and to fully receive the medicine that they hold, whether it's triggers, shadows, joy, pleasure, happiness, whatever it is, to feel it all with them and know that they are held in love through you, not through like, gotta do it like all in like military style. No, it's more of a loving and enduring way. So I hope that these tips really supported you. And if you feel like you would love to learn more about ethics and you are someone that wants to learn how to be a healer of integrity, how to be a space holder of integrity, I've actually created a 5-day free healers training, which allows you to step into those layers with yourself. And if you are someone who's like, Shika, I'm ready, I'm ready to go deeper, I do an Earth Dharma healers training. However, before you even connect with me with that, please go sign up for the 5-day free healers training. Why? Because we go into checking into integrity. It's important that you receive this medicine first. before even connecting and working with me here. And then when you're ready and you that full body yes, reach out, connect, follow the call. We're going to be going over how the shadows of a healer really plays a part, abundance, how to create very integral and heart-led space holding practice that actually gives you abundance. And I'm going to share with you how that is done. I'm going to go over how to channel properly, the difference between being a sponge and how to be a real channel, and do it ethically. And there's much more that's there in the 5 days. You're not going to be the same healer that you were at the beginning of the first day, and that's the intention, for you to be completely different. So let me know down below if you sign up with Healer's Initiation, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a beautiful practice, and I trust that all this work is going to help you deepen the work that you do already.